The Trustee's Guide to Trust Distributions. A significant portion of your duties as a trustee consists of distributing trust assets to trust beneficiaries. When making these distributions, it's essential that you follow the directives in the trust instrument. What is a trust distribution? A trust distribution is a payment or other distribution of trust assets made by a trustee to one or more trust beneficiaries. Under the California Probate Code, trustees have a duty to administer the trust according to the trust instrument, which includes following the asset distributions outlined in the document. A trustee should carefully review the trust instrument to determine the directives that must be followed prior to making any distribution. Since the specific language of a trust document varies between trustees, we recommend that trustees consult with an experienced trust attorney if they have any questions about what, when, how, and to whom distributions can be made. What should I do when beneficiaries demand distributions? Fielding beneficiary distribution demands is probably the single most frequent request trustees face. As trustee, generally, you'll have the discretion to approve or deny distribution requests. If a beneficiary requests a distribution that would violate the terms of the trust agreement, you have to decline the request. However, many trust documents grant the trustee discretion to make distributions they deem necessary. When deciding whether to grant a request for a discretionary distribution, keep in mind that you have a fiduciary duty to all of the beneficiaries, not just the beneficiary who's making the demand. This can be a difficult balancing act filled with potential current and future problems. Some issues you might want to consider when evaluating a request for a distribution include 1. The reason the beneficiary is asking for the money. 2. The beneficiary's financial and distribution history. 3. Whether the beneficiary has other assets available to cover the expense for which they're requesting the distribution. 4. How making the distribution would impact the trust as a whole and potentially the other beneficiaries. And 5. The purpose of the trust. Is this in line with what the trust was created to do? Once you determine whether to approve the request, you'll be best served to clearly document the request, the decision you made, and the reasons why you approved or declined the request. What is a partial distribution? A partial distribution, sometimes called a preliminary distribution, is a distribution of some of the trust assets before the trust administration is complete and the trust assets are fully distributed. A trustee is required to complete trust distributions within a reasonable time. However, sometimes there are estate tax or other tax issues, property or other assets that need to be sold, beneficiary disputes or other issues that slow down that process. In these situations, the trustee might want to make partial distributions well before they're going to be prepared to make a final distribution. A trustee can generally make preliminary distributions if the assets are available to be distributed and the trustee is going to be able to manage the trust's affairs with the remaining assets. What should I do if a beneficiary demands an illegal distribution? If a beneficiary demands an illegal distribution or one that violates the terms of the trust, you have to refuse to honor the request. Start by referring the beneficiary to the distributive provisions stated in the trust and explain why you can't provide the distribution that they want. If the beneficiary persists in their demands, you might need to get a lawyer and potentially the court involved. The California Probate Code allows trustees, as well as beneficiaries, to petition the probate court concerning the management of a trust. If a beneficiary continues to demand a distribution they're not entitled to and won't accept no for an answer, you might want to consult a trust litigation lawyer to determine the best course of action, particularly if the beneficiary threatens to take or has taken legal action to try and force a distribution they're not entitled to. How do I handle problem beneficiaries? Being a trustee can be a thankless task, and part of the reason for that is because when you serve as a trustee, oftentimes you're going to deal with what we might call problem beneficiaries. These beneficiaries can be anxious, needy, demanding, argumentative, and sometimes aggressive. However, it's our experience that problem beneficiaries are sometimes just simply uninformed. Some might not be familiar with trusts or understand how they operate, or they might not understand your role as trustee. They might also resent that you've been given authority over property that they see as belonging to them. Even when you do everything right, if you don't inform beneficiaries of what you're doing and why you're doing it, they may quickly become problem beneficiaries. Here's a few tips on how to handle a problem beneficiary. 1. Establish a line of communication with each beneficiary early on in your administration. 2, explain your role and help them form realistic expectations for how long the administration is going to take and what they might expect. 3, don't hide trust documents, assets, or any other information from the beneficiaries. 4, be as transparent and open as you can be. 5, keep beneficiaries in the know about what you're doing, what's happening with the trust, what's happening with its assets, liabilities, and why those things are happening. Following these suggestions and communicating as much as possible can help keep beneficiaries happy, and happy beneficiaries rarely become problem beneficiaries. Courts also are much more likely to side with you in any dispute over your administration if you've kept the beneficiaries well informed. When should I contact a trust litigation attorney? A trustee should contact a trust litigation attorney as soon as they're appointed to ensure that they administer the trust and make distributions according to the trust instrument. Retaining legal counsel is particularly important if it's the first time you've served as a trustee, so you can understand your role and how you can protect yourself. Even if you didn't hire an attorney when you were first appointed as a trustee, you can still reach out to a trust lawyer at any time during the administration as issues arise. If you're being sued by a beneficiary or a co-trustee or being threatened with the suit, you should contact a trust litigation attorney as soon as possible to help protect you. Have questions? At RMO, we protect people like you every day. Give us a call, shoot us an email. The consultation's always free. Thanks for watching.